Hi everyone, I'm Mrs. Navy, and today we're going to be taking a look at covalent compounds, and we're going to learn how to make their names and how to write their formulas. So first and foremost, this is your cheat sheet for covalent formulas. At the top, we have all the prefixes. So the prefix for mono is 1, prefix di is 2, tri is 3, tetra is 4, penta is 5, hexa 6, hepta 7, octa 8, nona 9, and deca 10. On the left-hand side at the bottom would be the first element name. Notice there are no changes in those from the periodic table, so I gave you as big of a list as I could. The second element, you're always going to change the ending to IDE. So instead of bromine for the first one, we're going to have bromide. Instead of chlorine for the second one, we're going to have chloride. And instead of fluorine for the third one, we're going to have fluoride. So those names are already changed on there for you. Also notice the little star that's right underneath first element and second element. On the first element, we only need a prefix if it's more than 1. If it's 1, it's assumed to be 1. On the second element, we always need a prefix regardless of the numbers. Make sure that you pay attention to those as well. So a couple of the rules that you just saw. When you're naming the first element, you want to name it and use a prefix only if it's more than 1. The second element, you want to name it, change it to an IDE ending, and always add a prefix. If you also, here's the last one that we didn't talk about in the last one, if you have an AO or an OO combo in the middle, and we'll see one of those here pretty quickly, make sure that you remove the first vowel. So here's our first one. Number 1, we have N2O4. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to name N, which is nitrogen. Since we have a 2 there, that's more than 1. So we're going to put di, and notice up at the top on the left, I have them circled that it's di. O is oxygen, but we're going to change the ending to IDE, so we're going to call it oxide. And 4 is tetra. Now, this is what I was talking about on that last slide. If we have an AO in the middle, so if you look at that tetroxide, we want to take the A out, and instead of tetraoxide, we're going to call it tetroxide. The next one we're going to take a look at is CCl4. Now, this one, there's only 1 carbon, so it doesn't get a prefix on the very first element. The second element will always get a prefix regardless of what number it is, so it's tetrachloride. So our third one. We have a combination of both of the things that we had just talked about. So starting with N, that's nitrogen. There are 2, which is di. Then we have O, which is oxide. And we would put a mono in front of it because there's only 1. If you don't see a number, remember it's 1. So it would be monoxide because we would get rid of that first O. So it kind of combines everything that we've been talking about. Now, when we go to make the formula, almost a little easier. So carbon, if we look over at the left, is C. I have it circled in pink. Oxide over on the left is O. And then the di in front of it means that there's 2 of them. So it would be CO2. Now, if we were doing carbon monoxide, same deal. Carbon is C. Oxide is O, and mono means 1, and you don't have to put the 1 in any formulas. And the last one, if we have 2 numbers that go in front, we have dinitrogen trioxide. So nitrogen is N, the di in front of it is 2. That's where the little pink 2 comes from. Oxide is O, and tri in front of it is 3. So this would be N2O3. I hope that this PowerPoint helped you to understand how to name covalent compounds and how to write their formulas.